What happened on stage? Why did the designer suddenly start? I don't know. Maybe it was a performance accident. The audience was booing and pointing at her. Some were sympathetic, some were laughing at her, some were contemptuous, and some were vulgar. Nancheng! After Lu Yao got off the stage, Lu Yao rushed over to Nancheng. I was scared to death just now. I'll send someone to check it out later. Investigation? Lu Yao froze. How is this? What if they know we do it? Forget it, Nancheng, I'm fine too. Seeing Lu Yao nervous, Fu Nancheng curled his thin lips meaningfully. It seems that this matter has something to do with her. There was a minor incident just now, and we've already arranged for someone to resolve it. Please don't worry, the game continues. At this time, the host announced. Next up is the talented girl Suxian Zhuxi from National Tsinghua University, and her model Xia Xiaofu. Zhuxi and Xia Xiaofu's catwalk show is finally here. Lu Yao clenched her fists. Even if an accident happens, Xiaoling is still a professional designer. At this time, Lu Yao had already arrived at the audience seats. She waited to see how badly Zhuxi and Xia Xiaofu would lose. Zhuxi is just an amateur, I want to see what she can design. As soon as these words fell, Zhuxi's catwalk show officially began. The noisy scene suddenly became quiet. At this time, the huge crystal tea stage began to emit a fairy-like aura, and Zhuxi and Xia Xiaofu appeared. As soon as the two people appeared, the whole audience gasped. Zhuxi was seen wearing a modified version of Hanfu Yuan Jiao with a retro corset skirt with blooming flowers, and the mermaid beads inlaid on it were like the Milky Way scattered across the sky. Xia Xiaofu wore the same Jiaoying tea dress, a modified version with red shoulder straps and a bright orange satin horseface skirt, which was really eye-catching and charming. At this time, music sounded. Zhuxi and Xia Xiaofu lowered their eyes, gently moved their sleeves, and began to dance to the music. She was already a top-notch beauty. Later, when people recalled this famous scene, they could only describe her as graceful as floating clouds in colorful clothes, with a waist as slender as silk and a body as light as gauze. I don't know how many people were mesmerized by her. Hello everyone, the dress I designed is modeled after Hanfu, with pleats at the waist to accentuate a woman's curves. This time, Zhuxi's design was kept very secret and no one knew what the theme elements of her design were in advance. Now everyone knows that Zhuxi used Chinese elements in this catwalk show, and the pinnacle of design craftsmanship designed the most beautiful Hanfu, taking you back to the Han Dynasty in a second. Please look at the embroidery on the dress. It is made of special fabric and shows different colors under different light and shadow. Fu Nancheng, who was watching this scene in the audience, dropped the pen in his hand to the ground with a pop. Now his eyes were filled with the slender and beautiful figure on the stage. This was the first time he saw her dance. She actually designed a dress like this? Another side of her that I didn't know about. The audience was completely silent, and everyone was immersed in the large-scale Han Palace dance music that had just been performed. I don't know who stood up first, but then everyone else stood up and started applauding. The applause was like a tide, instantly flooding the tea stage. Good! Amazing! Suxian, Xia Xiaofu! Suxian, Xia Xiaofu! Everyone was cheering. Xiaoling felt like a deflated ball. She looked at Lu Yao beside her and said, Yao Yao, there's media coverage live on the scene, and the audience can vote. Zhuxi and the others just outvoted us. We're definitely losing. Dear audience, all the contestants have appeared so far, and Miss Su instantly topped the voting list after her performance. At this time, the host walked onto the stage and announced loudly, the champion of this year's design competition has been announced. She is Zhuxi! Lu Yao, who had just been in the limelight with her beautiful legs, was completely forgotten in the corner. No one remembered her anymore, and her face was so gloomy that water seemed to drip out of it. She lost. She actually lost to Zhuxi again. Zhuxi and Xia Xiaofu, who are still on the stage, are very happy. She completely deserved the award, and the audience stood up and applauded, throwing flowers. Backstage. Cece, you didn't see the expressions of Lu Yao and Xiaoling just now. It was so satisfying. This is what they deserve for their tricks. This fashion design competition ended perfectly. Zhuxi and Xia Xiaofu stood in the crowd, accepting everyone's congratulations. At this time, Lu Yao and Fu Nancheng came over and said, "Miss Su, congratulations. According to the regulations, my wedding dress is now handed over to you." Fu Nancheng ran to Zhuxi and looked at her palm-sized cold face. He said, "Miss Su, have you studied fashion design before?" "I only understand it a little bit." Zhuxi didn't want to reveal her identity for the time being. Fu Nancheng's eyes softened. He could see that she was hiding many little secrets. "Lying again." "Oh, really?" At this time, Lu Yao asked, "It's okay to know a little, Miss Su. You won't let me down, will you?" "I will try my best." Lu Yao quickly came to her senses. So what if Zhuxi won the championship? He still had to design a wedding dress for her. She was the most beautiful bride-to-be. During the wedding dress design process, if she causes any more trouble for Zhuxi, she will have the final say. So what if you win? You can still only serve me. Lu Yao looked at Fu Nancheng sweetly. Fu Nancheng glanced at Zhuxi and said nothing. At this time, there was a ding-ling sound, and a string of bells rang out. Zhuxi shuddered. She was very familiar with the sound of this bell. It was exactly the same as her bell. However, it was not coming from her bell, but from Fu Nancheng. "This voice? Where does the bell sound come from?" Lu Yao asked. Fu Nancheng reached out and took out a string of red rope bells. The string of small bells on Fu Nancheng's body finally appeared. "I brought it here. I was planning to take it to the jewelry store for maintenance today." "This is the bell my mom gave you. Nancheng, you treasure it so much." Zhuxi's pupils suddenly shrank, and she couldn't help but take a step forward. She finally saw the bells on Fu Nancheng's body. It was worth it for her to participate in this competition to design a wedding dress for Lu Yao. The red rope bell is almost exactly the same as hers, and they look like a pair. Zhuxi wanted to get closer to take a look, but Lu Yao reached out and took the string of small bells from Fu Nancheng's palm. Lu Yao's mother is Xiaxi, Fu Nancheng's savior. She was the one who gave Fu Nancheng the bell, so are my biological parents also related to Xiaxi? Lu Yao had lived under the halo of being the daughter of Xiaxi since she was a child. She returned the little bell to Fu Nancheng and said, "Nancheng, my mommy has entrusted her beloved little princess to you. You must not let me down, otherwise you will be punished." Lu Yao didn't say anything more. She believed that Fu Nancheng would never abandon her. Zhuxi listened to all this. She didn't know what the so-called punishment was. What shocked her was that Fu Nancheng's little bell was actually left to him by Lu Yao's mother, Xiaxi. His little bell is obviously a pair with hers, so who gave her the little bell? Could it be related to Xiaxi? Now her life experience was suddenly involved with Xiaxi, and Zhuxi's thoughts were in a mess. Fu Nancheng took back the little bell. He had noticed Zhuxi's gaze. She was staring at his little bell as if she was very curious. Why was she so curious about his little bell? "Zhuxi is very curious about my bell. Why?" Yao's sister. At this time, a man walked over. His name was Ji Yunfan, the prince of the Ji family and the nephew of the current Mrs. Lu. He was a cousin of Lu Yao. Ji Yunfan came here to watch this fashion design competition, and now he is completely fascinated by Zhuxi. Ji Yunfan looked at Zhuxi excitedly, as if he was looking at his prey that was about to be caught. "Yao, is this Miss Zhuxi from earlier on stage? Quickly introduce her to me. My cousin is an out-and-out playboy, and he's a good match for Zhuxi." Now that he has set his eyes on Zhuxi, Lu Yao is naturally very happy. Lu Yao introduced, "Okay, Miss Su, this is Mr. Ji, my cousin." "Su Xian, I've long heard of your name." Looking at Zhuxi's stunning little face, Ji Yunfan couldn't wait to hug her in his arms. He took a step forward and said, "I'm Ji Yunfan. Let's add each other on WeChat so we can hang out together next time." This well-known Mr. Ji actually set his eyes on Zhuxi. Fu Nancheng's deep, narrow eyes darkened a little, and his thin lips were slightly pursed into an arc. He looked at Zhuxi. She definitely looked down on this Mr. Ji. He waited for Zhuxi to reject the man. "Wanna date her?" She has high standards and there's no way she would fall for this loser. Zhuxi definitely looks down on Ji Yunfan, but Ji Yunfan is Mrs. Lu's nephew, and she is in urgent need of knowing more about the Lu family's situation, so Ji Yunfan is a good breakthrough point. Okay, let's hang out another time. Ji Yunfan was so happy that he wanted to spin in circles. At this moment, Zhuxi felt a gloomy gaze falling on her face. She looked up and met Fu Nancheng's dangerous narrow eyes. Fu Nancheng's handsome face turned cold, with a layer of frost covering his handsome eyebrows, and he was glaring at her coldly. Preview, next chapter. The driver's window slowly slid down, and Fu Nancheng's handsome face appeared in sight. He put his hands on the steering wheel and looked at her. Get in the car. He asked her to get in the car. Zhuxi didn't move. No need, Mr. Fu, I can go back myself. After saying that, she turned and left. Fu Nancheng looked at her pretty figure, then stepped on the accelerator and followed behind her. Zhuxi didn't know why he was following her in his car, so she immediately turned around trying to get rid of him. However, when she turned left, he also turned left. When she turned right, he also turned right. The Rolls-Royce Phantom followed her closely.